Welcome to Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Your host, V&M General Manager Kevin Jean and Iowa Ranger Pro Staffer Steve Graff will keep you up to date on what's happening on the best lakes in the Arklatex region, with a primary focus on Sam Rayburn and Toledo Bend, two guys who have fished at a high level with Pro-Am experience with ABA, BFLs, Toyota Series, and BASS Opens. Anglers with a wealth of knowledge and willing to share. So pull up a chair, kick back, and see why so many anglers watch Tackle Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome to Tackle Talk Live. I'm Ranger Iowa Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager Kevin Jean, and we are from the shores of Sibley Lake, right here in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Beautiful day. Great day, Kevin. We ought to be fishing today.
Yeah, it would be a good day.
But anyway, we got a show to do, and we got a good one for you today. Something a little different today. It's a little bit, I guess we kind of gone off the rail a little bit this week, Kevin.
Well, we're still covering the same bodies of water.
A little different type of stuff going on
today. We will be covering the KBF National, the Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship was a couple weeks ago in Shreveport, Louisiana. Shreveport hosted it, and those guys could select any of the lakes around Shreveport.
Right.
Caddo, Bistineau, you can go on down the Red River. You can go on down the list. But we will be talking to the national champion, Steve, that caught a 3-day total of 15 fish, 301 inches, I believe. It equals up to be 20 inches per fish for his 15 best 15, which, Steve, is a 4-pound average.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to have him on and kind of discuss the kayaking side of it, the kayaking tournament.
It's new to a lot of people.
And like normal, how he caught them.
Yeah, exactly. And this segment's presented by Toledo Health, the boat shop, 3J's Four-Way, home of Cypress and the outdoors. And again, as Kevin alluded to, we'll have the KBF national champion on, Guillermo Gonzalez, and then also in the following segment, we'll have Eric Gilmore, the Red River Waterway Commission, as he previews a big event coming up on Red River, several events coming up in 2 weeks, one in 2 weeks, and then another one, several coming up in 2022. Eric's going to talk about the 2022 schedule, and a lot of people starting to gradually come back to the Red River Waterway, so I'm excited about that.
I'm wondering, Steve, if we're going to get a little sneak peek of what Eric. I feel like Eric might have something coming
that we don't even know about.
Something very, very big.
Yeah.
Maybe that Eric has come. Maybe we can get him to give us a little hint there, here or there.
Right. First, we're going to take one little quick break to recognize a few of our sponsors. Stay tuned. You're watching Tackle Talk Live.
Toledo Health is a full-service primary and acute care clinic. Nurse practitioners Jarrett Rule and Melissa Vines bring quality health care that's needed and convenient to the area. Whether it's a stomach virus or a hook in your hand, Toledo Healthcare will try and meet all your healthcare needs. Appointments available and walk-ins are always welcome. So the next time you're feeling down at Toledo Bend, stop by Toledo Healthcare, located on Highway 6, just south of Toledo Town, or you can call 318-508-5323. For all your boating needs, check out Shreveport's newest marine dealer, The Boat Shop. Raymond Kidd and his great staff will take care of all your engine repair needs or anything else that needs fixing. A certified Yamaha Mercury dealer, they carry two of the best fishing boats on the market from Sea Arc and Camus. The Boat Shop is never short on trade-ins, as they're always willing and able to make you the best deal possible. Looking for great boat accessories? They're a full support garment and Minn Kota dealer. So the next time you're in the market for a new or used boat, or maybe you just need to service the boat you have, let the Boat Shop fix you up. To learn more, call 318-402-0399 or go to ShreveportBoatShop.com. The next time you're on I-49 just south of Natchitoches, Louisiana, stop by Cypress Knee Outdoors. A store within a store, Cypress Knee is located inside 3J's Four-Way. Whether you need gas, food, or drinks, they have it. While you're there, check out Cypress Knee Outdoors and pick up whatever hunting or fishing tackle you need. Top name brands like Strike King, Santone, Spro, or the #1 soft plastics made, V&M. On the hunting side, they carry guns from Mossberg, Winchester, and Remington. Plus, they've got a great supply of ammunition ammunition. Let John Abram and his staff show you everything Cypress Knee has to offer. Located just 1 mile east of 127 on I-49 or call 318-238-HUNT. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome back. You're watching Tackle Talk Live. Thank you for tuning us in today. And on the Tackle Talk hotline, we've got the KBF national champion, Guillermo Gonzalez, fresh off his huge win over there in North Louisiana in Shreveport. And Guillermo, hey, man, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. I know you're a busy guy, but we've got to take the time to recognize your huge win as a national champion with the KBF Tour.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me, guys.
Guillermo, and you're from Fort Worth area, correct?
That's correct.
Gotcha. So, okay, KBF National Championship, you qualified. Kind of take us through, I know you could pick several lakes to fish. Kind of give us the rules and regulations as far as that goes, how you select your lake. Do you stay on that body lake the whole time? Kind of give us the ins and outs there.
Sure. So I think for this event was hosted by the Shreveport Sports Commission.
Correct.
And so I think they wanted to keep it real interesting. So they actually suggested, it's my understanding that they suggested that we host a tournament around 5 bodies of water. And those bodies of water that they selected were Caddo Lake, Lake Bistineau, certain stretches of the Red River, Cypress Black Bayou Reservoir, and one more, Wallace Lake. And so, man, it definitely makes for an interesting tournament strategy because, you know, you could adopt the strategy to, okay, I'm going to try to fish every single one of these bodies of water and see which one I like the best. Or you could say, I'm going to try to pick one, maybe 2, and really try to dig in deep into those bodies of water. And
now, is practice-wise, do y'all have like a 3-day practice? Is it closed at any point? Is it off limits? How did practice go?
It was in this particular scenario. I didn't start practicing until I believe it was. I think it opened. It opened. So we had regulations on like information gathering and things like that, but I think it was open whenever you wanted to get in there and practice.
Okay.
So there was no dead water necessarily.
Say that again?
There was no dead water necessarily.
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
Now, I know me and the majority of my friends, we got in there. The tournament started on Wednesday, and we got there Saturday.
Mm-hmm. So you have 4 days to kind of break it down,
yeah,
and decide what lake. Now, let's say you chose a lake. Let's just, for instance, and we'll talk about the lake you chose later, but let's just say you went to Caddo and practice and say, all right, I'm gonna fish Caddo. Do you have to fish? Do you have to tell them what lake you're going to fish? And like, I have to fish this lake the whole tournament, or during tournament days, can you fish multiple lakes?
Yeah. Do you have to declare?
It does not have to be declared.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, you did have to check in and out via the tournament app, so that way they knew where you were launching and taking out on any given day.
Oh,
Gotcha.
yeah. Make sure nobody was going somewhere they're not supposed to be going.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to check in. Basically, it's a little feature where you hit the check-in button and it automatically geotags your check-in, so they know what ramp you're launching at and they know where you are at all times.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you have to check out from there as well. And then all your photos are also geotagged, so they know exactly where your fish were caught and everything.
Now, is it an 8-hour fishing day? I mean, like you fish from such and such, say 7 in the morning till 3 o'clock, and you got to stop fishing at 3. They give you time to get in. What's the rule on that?
Yeah, so first cast, basically what they do is they do a launch time and a first cast time. and then a last cast time. So
Okay.
I believe it was a couple weeks ago now, but I believe launch was at 6:30 or 6:45, and first cast would have been at 7 or 7:15.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember the exact times at this point, but
Right.
Gotcha.
and then last lines out was at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So Guillermo, so we know now kind of how it broke down and how it all works. So knowing all this, how did you take us through your practice?
So basically, we had a similar, actually, it was the same tournament at a different time of year 2 years ago in Shreveport, and the same lakes were in play. And I did a little bit of research, and I read that every summer in June, they drew down Lake Bistineau about 8 feet to control the Slovenia.
Right.
And I was very curious by that, because I thought to myself, Lake Bistineau is not a very deep lake to begin with. So if they draw it down 8 feet, that draws down a significant portion of the lake.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would say almost half, if not maybe even more than half.
Yeah, no, you're right. 50% of the lake would be only fishable.
Yeah. And so I thought, man, that's got to be kind of a neat experience. I would imagine that it really concentrates a lot of those fish. So I was curious about that, and I had to see what that was about. So that my first day of practice was on Lake Bistineau, and man, it was fun. It was an absolute blast. And then from then on, I decided, you know what? I had pure intentions to go and spend some time on Caddo, but I think I'm going to stay here. I'm having way too much fun with this. And so from then on, I dedicated all of my time to trying to pattern the fish on Bistineau and kind of figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
And so I basically covered from Bistineau from the furthest up legal launch all the way to the lowest legal launch. And so I basically covered the whole lake and kind of landed on fishing the mid-lake area for the tournament.
Now, when you say you covered, are you talking about you kayaked the entire body of water? Are you pulling out, putting in, going to another launch ramp, putting in? What are you kayaking the whole lake?
Yeah, pretty much. So I put in at the first ramp that I launched at was down at the lower end, and I fished as much of that as I could.
Yeah.
And then the second place that I launched at was down at the very, very upper end.
Yeah.
And I fished as much of that as I could. And then the third place I launched at was in mid-lake. And basically, by the time I had launched at all those ramps, I had pretty much seen the entire lake. There's not much of it that I hadn't seen.
Right.
I mean, it's not a gigantic lake to begin with, especially drawn down.
No, you're exactly right. Another thing, too, I know Bistineau very well, and it's one thing to get caught up, Guillermo, and catching a bunch of fish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun. Oh, it's fun. But you still in the back of your mind to be thinking, can I win with this?
Right. And I learned pretty quick that I probably could.
Yeah.
That lake has from what I gathered, and you said you have a lot of experience out there, and you can kind of confirm or deny, but it has a large population of 5-pounders.
Yes.
I mean, a bunch. It doesn't have tons of 8+s that I could gather, but it has a lot of 4, 5, and 6-pounders.
Yes.
And I was catching them basically all week in a lot of different places.
Guillermo, how was you catching them, Guillermo, in practice?
In practice, I mixed a lot of things in practice. I did a lot of when I was just trying to cover water, I was mixing up a swim jig, a spinnerbait. I did a little bit of buzz bait, frog fishing, and when I was slowing down, I would either pitch a jig or a Senko.
Yeah. And did that turn out to be your best technique even on tournament days?
Yeah, I mean, tournament day, it seemed like, from what I gathered, a lot of the biggest bites that I got in practice were on the spinner bait. Even though I caught fish on just about all of those baits that I mentioned, it seemed like it wasn't always the bait that got the most bites, but it seemed to be the bite that got the biggest bites.
Right.
I mean, the lure that got the biggest bites, and I was throwing one in particular. It was a War Eagle. It had white painted blades, and that bait seemed to get by far the biggest bites for me. And I was getting enough bites in the day where I felt comfortable throwing it almost all day. So I kind of locked it in my hand for almost the whole tournament. There were a couple times when, for example, the wind didn't really blow, and it seemed like they just really didn't want it unless the wind was blowing.
Right.
So in those times, I mixed in some other things like a frog, a swim jig, and a Senko. But for the most part, most of my tournament fish came on that bait.
Yeah. So he's throwing a white skirt with white blades.
Yep.
Yeah. And the water must have been pretty clear then.
I wouldn't say it was really that clear, but it was. It certainly wasn't muddy. It had about, if I had to guess, depending on where you were on the lake. In some places it was 8 inches, and depending on kind of the wind direction, and in other places it was as clear as 2 feet.
Now, Guillermo, let me ask you that, because look, I mean, your average fish for your top 50 fish, you had over 300 inches in 3 days on your top 15 fish. That is a 20-inch fish, average, which is around a 4-pounder. Now, on Bissano, are you fishing the edge of, the water's down, are you fishing the edge of the creek, or are you up a little bit shallower? Where was these fish located? You was catching them on the spinnerbait?
So it's funny. I chose the mid-lake section primarily because it seemed like on the lower end, which was really odd, but I guess it's just the way the lake sets up. On the lower end, outside of the creek, it was inches of water.
Yeah.
3 or 4. Like, I could barely even float. On the upper end, outside of the creek, it was basically dry.
Yeah.
And the whole majority of the lake was dry, with a couple of sloughs mixed in that you can get in and fish. And in the lower lake, outside of the creek, it seemed like you still had about between 1.5 feet and 3 feet of water.
Yeah.
So are you fishing for fish that the bass boats can't get to?
Absolutely. And that kind of brings me to my next point. So a lot of the fish that I caught were fairly close to the main channel, but it seemed like the bigger fish were, despite being in proximity to the main channel, they were on the outside tree line, not the inside tree line that hugged the channel. There were a lot of smaller fish on the inside tree line. But I think this is directly correlated to the fact that a lot of boats really can't get to them on those outside tree lines. So those bigger fish just felt a little bit more comfortable out there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, hey man, sound like you had them figured out. And how many were participating in this particular tournament?
I think the final number was 349.
Wow. And let me ask you this. Yeah, Guillermo, have you been in the past a normal bass boat tournament guy, or are you just something you picked up because you're a kayak fisherman?
Well, so it's funny, I got into kayak fishing really heavily, kayak tournament fishing in college. At the time, I was fishing on TCU's college bass team.
Okay.
Doing boat stuff, and I just needed a cost-effective way to hone my skills while I was still in school.
Yeah.
And I realized that there were a lot of local kayak trails that I could kind of get involved with, and you can hone your skills as a bass fisherman, and then you can hone your skills as a tournament angler, because it's almost a different deal with the mental game, and so It just made sense. There was a lot of local weekend stuff that I could do. And still work it in with my studies, and so that's how I really got into it. And the more I kind of got into it, the more I realized that I just really enjoyed fishing out of a kayak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I was at a huge disadvantage. I mean, I have all the same electronics that people are running on a bass boat, I have in my kayak now.
Yeah.
The only real disadvantage that I have is I don't have a 250 in the back of it.
Yeah, you can't go from one end of the lake to the other. Yeah, you're right. But in one sense, that can be a good thing. And when you settle,
you were catching fish that bass boats could not get to.
Yeah.
I mean, bass boats could probably get to them, but man, you'd be hitting everything in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
They would know you were there. So, Guillermo, let me ask you this. So, first place and second place, you guys were kind of close. Y'all kind of separated yourselves from everybody else. The top 5 in this tournament, were they all Bistineau? Were there some Caddos mixed in? What all lakes do you know of was represented that did very well?
I know, so I can't speak for everybody in the top 5 because I don't know for sure. But I do know probably the majority of the top 10 was on Bistineau. I think there were a couple guys that were on Caddo that really got on a good pattern over there. But I think the majority of them, I know Cody and I were both on Bistineau, and we were both actually at the same ramp. We were both fishing in the same area.
And Cody was second place, and he had 300 inches as well. So, again, Steve, we're talking about a 4-pound average here.
Oh, yeah. And a friend of mine called me the other day. He's one of the better anglers that's ever come off Bistineau, and he wanted me to go fishing with him, and he said, I'm telling you right now, dude, he said, I am absolutely killing them on Bistineau right now. He said, it is crazy fishing. So evidently you capitalized on that same bite. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Honestly, I'm looking forward to going back and just enjoying it a little more.
Yeah,
right.
Guillermo, man, congratulations! Thanks for coming on with us today. And hey, we're going to maybe give you kayak guys a little more exposure. Pass the word along about our show. Let people know we did an interview with you, and hey, that helps us too. And so we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you all again sometime.
All right.
Good deal. Thanks, Guillermo.
Thank you. There you go. KBF national champion Eric Gilmore right there. Heard it from himself, the horse's mouth, exactly what he did, how he did it. And
Guillermo Gonzalez.
Excuse me, Guillermo Gonzalez.
From the Fort Worth area. Eric, I think you were
I'm already thinking about my next guest.
Steve, and I was listening to the interview he did on the KBF, and you can go to the KBF Facebook page, the interview he did there, Steve, and they had 300-something kayaks, and Stevie won over $55,000 kayak fishing. $55,000.
I'm telling you, I know nationwide, talking to like dealers, boat dealers, Bass Pro Shop people, they said kayaks, they can't keep them in stock.
Well, even ICAST, all of us, ICAST and the Bassmaster, where they have all the venues set up.
Right.
Steve, it's half of it is about kayak fishing.
Oh, yeah. No, you're exactly right.
All of us in the industry are having to really make sure it can't just be about the Bassmaster Elite Series or Bass Champs or anything like that. Now, as far as how we're marketing, this kayak is a huge industry in itself.
And we're talking 300 plus. That was one tournament.
One trail.
Yeah, one trail. Yes. So... And BASS has their own. I don't know if MLF. Does MLF have a kayak trail?
No, they don't have their.
But anyway, so this definitely become more and more popular. And we're going to start giving these guys a little more airtime as well. And because that's a market of people we need as well. All right, we're going to take another quick break. When we return, we've got Eric Gilmore of the Red River Waterway Commission talking about all the events coming up. One coming up in a couple of weeks, but everything coming up in 2022 on Red River. When we return with more Tackle Talk Live.
Are you looking for the finest custom-built rods ever made? Then look no further than Pride Rods. Fishing rods built to last and made in Montgomery, Texas. Constructed by Mr. Billy Kistler with the finest Gary Loomis North Fork composite blanks available. They offer a complete line of both spinning and casting rods for both fresh and salt water. Pride Rods do more than pass the eye test. They excel in performance as well. Ask your local tackle dealer if they carry Pride Rods and pick one up and try it for yourself. You'll see why so many anglers are using Pride Rods. To learn more, go to priderods.com or call 832-418-6040. The next time you're headed for Toledo Bend or Sam Rayburn, stop by Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle. They have an awesome supply of everything you'll need to catch the big ones. Whether your trip calls for bass fishing, white perch tackle, catfish bait, or the ultimate fighting shiners, Keith's Tackle has you covered. Keith and former Elite Series pro Ben Matsubu also have the latest information on what, how, and where you need to be fishing on Sam Rayburn or the Bend. So for all your tackle needs, check out Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, located just off Highway 21 on the Texas side of Toledo Bend, or call 409-625-0181. The Lakes Insurance Agency is an independent insurance agency that has been taking care of Texans' insurance needs for over 25 years, offering auto, homeowners, boat, RV, life, health, and commercial insurance. Owner Clark Moore is a local guide and tournament angler who understands your insurance needs and wants to be your go-to guy for all your insurance needs. For a free quote, give him a call and see why so many Texans trust the Lake Insurance Agency. Located at 805 Southeast Stalling Suite 3, Nacogdoches, Texas, or call 936-205-4467. You're watching Tackle Talk Live, a show dedicated to making you a better angler. Now back to the guys with all the inside scoop, Kevin Jean and Steve Graff.
Welcome back to Tackle Talk Live. We're in our second segment here. This segment is presented by Pride Rods, Keith's Toledo Bend Tackle, the Lakes Insurance of Nacogdoches, Texas, with a new location right there at Sam Rayburn.
Fixing to say, you got the new location.
We got
two locations
Two
for the
locations.
Lakes Insurance Agency.
And Lone Star Bass Trail, and Kevin's going to tell us about that right now.
Guys, if you have not checked out Lone Star Bass Trail on Facebook, make sure to give them a like. It's a new bass trail that is, they've been around for a little while, but it's a different type of bass trail. They have MLF style format. They have what they did, the Ironman tournament here back in August. It was 4 hours in the morning, take a break during the day, 4 hours in the evening. They do have an event coming up on Lake Nacogdoches, October 30th. It's $120 a team. So anybody looking to jump in anything Lake Nacogdoches, make sure to give the guys over at Lone Star Bass Trail a like on their Facebook page and give them a follow.
And on the Tackle Talk hotline, we've got Red River Waterways, Eric Gilmore. Eric got a huge catfish tournament coming up on Red River, Bass Pro Cabelas Kat Nationals. Tell us about that, and I think you got some other stuff you want to tell us about.
Well, good morning, folks. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's exciting listening to the kayak. We were part of that sponsor for the KBF Nationals, and that's the second time we've had it, and that was an unbelievable turnout. We had a lot of people pre-fishing on the red during the practice stages, and then some of those folks from up north posted some of the hogs they were catching on Bistano.
Yeah.
And it just kind of pulled some of those folks over.
Yeah.
I did talk to a fisherman from New York. He fished the red both days he was in a tournament. He said he had never seen so many fish. He said they were jumping all over. He was in a little bayou down back towards Cacheta, and he said they were just jumping everywhere. I just couldn't bring them in the boat. But,
yeah. So, but he did say the fishing he thought was good, but he just wasn't catching the size. That was his problem?
That was the main thing, is when they saw those, a lot of these guys, when they came in the tournament, they were posting PBs out on Bistano and Caddo, and they're coming from further north, and so they knew they couldn't win it on the river, so they were going for the check.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I'm excited to be on here to talk about the Bass Pro Cabelas King Cat National Catfish Championship. We're going to be hosting on the Red River with weigh-ins down on the Natchitoches Front Street riverfront, riverbank.
Oh, the weigh-in's going to be here.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh, I thought it was probably going out of Shreveport. Yeah.
No, it's here in Natchitoches. There's going to be a kids fishing rodeo on Saturday down on Cane River. And all the kids will come down there. Every kid will walk away with something. And they're also going to be pulling, during the season, they have all of these, from the kids' rodeos, kids enter in for scholarships. And they're going to be pulling at the end of the year for $9,000 scholarships for kids. So anybody who comes down there gets a chance to put their name in the hat and for that drawing. So King Cat's doing a lot of great things there.
Now, and what's the date on this event?
It's going to be November 5th and 6th. So they're coming in, actually. The tournament will be on the 5th and the 6th, but they're going to be coming in all week.
Oh, okay.
And weighing them, they have to be off the water at 3, and weighing will start at 4 downtown on Friday and Saturday.
Now, Eric, how many boats you anticipating for this?
We're expecting anywhere from 60 to 100 boats. They haven't gotten the final tally, but they're giving away 2 boats, one to the in the Angler of the Year point standing and to the champion of the tournament. So they'll be giving away 2 Lowe's boats, $40,000 to the winner. The total $125,000 giveaway. So it is the biggest fishing tournament on the catfish circuit right
now. Now, Eric, and I'm not a catfish tournament guru here. So is this a rod and reel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Five fish. Yeah.
3 fish. It's a 3-fish rod and reel. Has to be brought in. Some of these tournaments they're pulling in 90-pounders. It's pretty. If you want to watch the weigh-ins online, it's pretty. They bring, you have a bag in the bass tournaments. They bring in a trough to put these catfish in.
And that's another good question. If the weigh-ins on Cane River, downtown Riverbank, where are these fish being released back to Red River?
Yeah, let's take them back to Red River. Don't release them in Cane River.
We don't need them in Cane.
They're definitely going back to the Red River.
Yeah.
I know that seems blasphemous for us Louisiana people. We should be eating all these catfish, but
yeah.
They're going to put them back out there. We're getting help from the fish hatchery. Is going to be out there with some tanks, so the kids will be able to see these big monsters that they have pulled in. I know we keep posted on the Louisiana Fishing Report and the Red River Facebook page when people come in with these big catfish, and we know there's some big ones out there.
Yeah, absolutely is on Red River.
Yeah. Now, these guys have to qualify for this event, or is this an open event?
No, they do have to qualify throughout the season. And then, they have to just participate in so many tournaments and then be able to qualify for the points race and the national championship.
So we got guys coming from all over the country then, I would assume, for this.
All over the country. This is the first time on the Red. These guys have been fishing the Mississippi. They've been over in the Carolinas. They've been across. So when I talked to these folks for the first time a couple of years ago, I said, we want to bring something different down here. And 2021 has been a crazy year because, just a couple of weeks ago we had the Crappie Expo, the $100,000 crappie tournament on the Red River.
Right.
And we're having catfish. We've had the kayaks. We had the TBF. And so, this has been a busy year on the Red River.
Yeah, yeah.
In the region. So, in all species. So, everyone who's had a chance to look at any type of event out there, they've had a chance to come to the Red.
Well, what events you got coming up are you ready to announce anything for 2022? We do know about the Open coming to Shreveport, which is awesome.
Yeah, we were excited about that. The Open came back, and I will say I'm getting a lot of contacts and phone calls after the TBF tournament came in February with the numbers we saw. I know I was on here and we talked about that earlier in the spring. So there's a lot of renewed interest from the big players. We just had out of Grand Ecore, the same weekend as Crappie Expo, the High School Bass Nation hosted a tournament out there with about 140 boats.
Yeah.
It was an amazing thing. It was a tough fishing day for those kids, but the river's really calm and at pool right now, so it makes it a little more difficult for some of those. But it's such a competitive, fair fight on the Red, and that's what makes all these organizations excited about coming to the Red. You don't really get a lot of jackpotting. You don't get people that local knowledge kind of comes and goes as the weather.
Yeah. It's definitely about it. I've always said Red River's kind of an equalizer. I mean, it's one of those bodies of water. Somebody can kind of come out of nowhere that they get on the right bite in the right area that you can win a tournament there.
And that's what's great. And like I said, we're having a lot of discussions. I don't have anything right now out of the Open that I can throw out there.
Oh, come on, Eric.
To the biggest, I will say, one thing I'll take from both the kayak and the Crappie Expo. The Crappie Expo, that was really interesting with all the technology and everything they were using.
Oh, yeah.
But those anglers, 2 to 1, all said there was more fish out there than they knew. They were targeting with their live scopes and their 360. They weren't just looking at fish. They were targeting just the tournament fish. They said there were so many fish out there. I mean, and talk about how great the fishery is. And with KBF, you're talking about on that tournament, you had 350 anglers, and they caught 3,300 fish.
Yeah. That's a lot of fish.
Those bodies of water.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great things. And like I said, we have our stocking program coming on, so that we're going to be restocking or additional stocking here in November, working with sportsmen. I just went blank on the sport fish, but it's American Sport Fish will do the stocking.
Yeah.
And so we continue to do that program. And if you've been on the river, you've seen the dredges out there. We've been working on keeping all the oxbows open. So
Right.
lots of great stuff going on.
Well, good deal. Well, Eric, man, we appreciate you, man. Good information there, and we'll pay anytime you have something that you want to announce. Hey, make sure you get in touch with us, and hey, you're welcome anytime, dude.
Will do, and hopefully we'll be in touch with some great news before too long.
Okay.
Good deal, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you. Eric Gilmore. There you go. Red River Waterway Commission. He's a guy that kind of in charge of bringing tournaments in. And, it's good to hear that people are actually contacting him now. So instead of him having to contact them to beg him to come.
The numbers are there, Steve. The numbers are getting better on on Red River. The fishing's getting better. These like the Open, when they're going to be guys practicing for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And then the tournament comes up. It's that makes it a tough bite.
Yeah.
But the fishing is getting better.
Yeah,
it's getting back. It's coming back. No doubt about it.
It's not where it was, but it's getting there.
And hats off to Eric and those guys. They are doing everything they can to get it back to where it was.
The restocking program, I think we're starting to see the benefits of that over the last 5-6 years. So, congratulations to those guys for a job well done. Nick LeBrun, our buddy.
Oh, wow.
Winner of the last Open on Grand Lake, qualifies for the Classic now.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, finished second 2 weeks ago, goes up to Grand Lake, wins the sucker. Now, it's just incredible, his mentality, and how he approaches every event. Of course, Nick's just one of those guys that I've always said he's bound for greatness, and he's a guy you just can't count out.
Well, and Steve, talking about that, his mindset. So the very first event of the year, he had a rough one. He had a bad showing. He finished in the 100th, whatever.
Right.
And that's why I said, man, that after finishing second and first, that first one's got to sting a little bit, because he might possibly have done a little bit better and qualified for the Elite Series. He's like, man, you're right, but if you would give me Elite Series or Classic, I would take Classic.
Yeah.
And his exact words were, Kevin, if I don't finish 100 and something in that first one, I don't think I finished second, nor do I definitely not think I win this event. He said, because I fished to win it.
Right.
I knew the way he was fishing that I might not even catch 5.
Right.
But I also knew that was the way to win.
Yeah, I'm anxious to hear exactly how he did it, because I know what his approach was at Smith Lake and Lewis Smith Lake up there where he went, and sitting in 100 foot of water with the V&M
drop shad.
And now the fish weren't in 100 foot, but they were in 30 foot suspended.
Right.
But he still, with his live scope, or what they call Lowrance, I forgot what Lowrance calls theirs. But anyway,
active target.
Mm-hmm. He actually zeroed in on those fish in 30, 40 foot of water.
And completely opposite end of the spectrum. He caught all these fish on the top water out of Grand Lake. He caught them all on a whopper plopper.
Yep.
And like I said, it was just he knew if he could get 5 bites, he would be up there, and he got the right 5 bites every day on it. And he's going to be fishing. It's a lifelong dream of Nick's, as it is most of all of ours, to fish the Bassmaster Classic.
Yep.
And he is now qualified Lake Hartwell this year. So he's excited about it. I'm excited for him. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
No.
And this is what he does for a living.
Yeah. You're exactly right.
And he is fishing the Super Bowl of all bass tournaments. So hats off. Congratulations, Nick. Couldn't be more proud.
Yep. We're going to wrap this thing up, Tackle Talk Live here today. Real quick, registration is open now for the ABA Solo 150 Tour. If you haven't registered, they're taking registrations now for the southeastern part of the country and the Southwest Division, which is basically Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana. But all of them pretty much are in Texas, except for one that's at Eufaula, Oklahoma. The first one's at Texoma. Second one's at Eufaula, Oklahoma. And the third one is at Sam Rayburn. And it's March, April, and June. So good time of the year. They're kind of quick once we start, but and Kevin, talking about that a little bit, some of these circuits starting first week in January. I mean, it's just getting, and I guess because they have to. There's so many tournaments now that you can't find a boat ramp unless you start
And
early.
I also think, Steve, everybody's really eager to start fishing.
Yeah.
The hunting's kind of ending. Everybody's pretty eager. But you're right. There's so many. Everybody has to. We started in February most of the time.
Right.
And then everybody started leaking into January just because there was no open dates.
Right.
Well, now
Right.
we're here. We are starting January 1st most of the time,
Yeah.
every year.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's cold, too. Golly, it's cold.
Yeah. All right. Kevin, you got anything else?
I think we're good for the
All
week.
right, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you for tuning us in today. Please check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, everything else under social media that we're under. And if you'd like to become a sponsor or a membership of our sponsorship team, contact us through our Facebook page. Just send us a message. Kevin and I will get Kevin will probably get back to you, send you a packet out, and tell you exactly what's involved. And we'd love to have you. We're constantly our sponsorships constantly growing, and we appreciate each and every one of the sponsors we have today. For Kevin Jean, our producer, James Stanfield, yours truly, Steve Graff. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week with more Tackle Talk Live. Have a great week, everybody.